Mars moves back into Cancer where it does not like to be. Venus moves into Pisces where it loves to be. And Pluto gets activated by quite a few planets. It's an intense month, but we're going to make it through. Welcome back to the Hella Fluid Collective podcast. I'm your host, Sarah, and I love to use astrology to help people find their creative flow. Today, we are talking about the astrology of January 2025. But before we dive in, just remember now is a really fantastic time to get a year ahead reading. 2025 has a lot of changes going on, so it would be nice to figure out what those changes mean for you personally and what other transits are happening in your chart and how you can make the most of a very transitional year. You can find those in the links below or head over to my website. I have a year ahead, a quarter ahead, and I have different versions of each so that you can find the one that best fits your needs. I also have a new service, which is a consultation. So if you have a specific question or area of life that you want to cover, I can answer those in either 30 minutes or 60 minutes. I have two different offerings where we can go over 1 to 2 of your questions and get an answer through your birth chart. So pretty cool if you have something specific that you're trying to figure out. All right, let's dive into January. Coming in hot on January 2nd, we have Mars opposite to Pluto. This is the second time that these two are connecting. And it's not the last time either, and that's because Mars is hitting this in its retrograde. So Mars opposite Pluto is not necessarily a lovely transit. It's quite the opposite. It's rather intense. It has people feeling triggered. It has people feeling defensive and acting out of fear. That's because Pluto rules our survival mechanisms. And when there's an opposition with Pluto, especially Mars, a more so aggressive planet, it's going to have us feeling like, yeah, our survival needs are at threat. And therefore, we're acting out of a lot of fear, out of a lot of scarcity. And when we're acting out of fear and scarcity, we're not acting our best now, are we? Leave a little wiggle room for yourself and for other people's. Give them the benefit of the doubt that they're going through some stuff right now, because a lot of us really, truly are. On top of that, Mars is retrograding, which means that our energy levels are kind of down and dwindled. So if you're feeling just exhausted, especially with this transit, that is okay. It doesn't mean just hide until it's over, but we can use this energy to go deep into our subconscious, Pluto, to figure out what's blocking us from really feeling motivated. Is it because we don't actually want that thing and we have external forces that are making us feel like we should want that thing or we should do that thing? Or is it because of some sort of fear, something that we are afraid of failing if we even try to go after that? These are the things that could be coming up, whether intentionally or unintentionally, with the Mars opposite to Pluto transit. Tends to be a pretty violent transit because both Pluto and Mars rule aggression and violence in different ways. And so when they're opposite each other, they're not working very well together. They're looking at each other like, what are you doing? I don't like that. So this could bring up a lot of violence. So make sure you are keeping yourself as safe as possible. As for business owners, I would use this energy to tap into your motivations and figure out, is there anything you're holding back from that is based out of fear? Are there any things that are preventing you from showing up in the way that you really want to show up, your authentic way in your business? And what is stopping you from doing that? It's okay if you're not ready to move forward yet, but it'd be good to start asking, what are they, and start to unpack how we can maybe move past them. If you are feeling a little slowed down during this time, now is a great time to sit on the couch and do some journaling around these more intentional questions. On that same day, on January 2nd, we have Venus moving into the sign of Pisces, where it will stay until February 2nd. Now, Venus loves being in Pisces. She's very comfortable here. This is all about loving love, being gushy, showing affection to one another, being really compassionate towards others, towards ourselves. It's all about unconditional love, which is really nice in tangent with these kind of harsher transits. Our relationships, our values, our finances get a dose of compassion, dreaminess, creativity, and intuition. I will say with that, however, they can also come with some blurred boundaries. So just be really clear in your communications in your relationships. Make sure you're not in a situationship where there are expectations that aren't stated and only one side of the party may have. It's very easy to be in a fantasy about what sort of relationship you're in right now and what sort of relationship you're in with your money. So it's very easy to spend too much money or to spend money you think you have, but you don't actually have with Venus in Pisces. So instead of spending money, just sit down with your pens, your markers, get creative. Let's write some stuff. Again, we're not feeling very active right now. So maybe if you want to just be on the couch with your laptop and just blurt out some creative writing or draw or do something that's more channeled rather than forced, Venus in Pisces is a good energy to be doing that in. I will note, kind of, just take note of what's happening during this time because Venus starts her retrograde in April. So she starts it in Aries, but she will move back into Pisces, which is just a marking of a cycle. So whatever's kind of happening during this January 2nd to February 2nd, we might be coming back to that in April during the Venus retrograde. So just take note. As for business owners, this is a lovely energy for channeled creativity, meaning if you have some sort of way to tap into your guides, tap into your higher self, and projects just come through you and you just are on a tangent and you want to start creating something, go with that during this time because it could have a lot of value. If you can, without letting your clients down or anything like that, but if you can, maybe even spend a little time creating space in your calendar, maybe taking on a little bit less clients this month, just so that you have space for that creative flow. There is a lot of other opportunity for that channeled creativity this month. So maybe just keep a couple days open so that you can go with it. If you want to see what days would be best, then make sure you head over to the blog where I have the supportive, spicy, and dynamic days. And under the supportive days, I list those days of channeled creativity. To ruin all the fun, on January 6th, we have Mars moving back into the sign of Cancer. Yes, that's because Mars is retrograding. It's leaving Leo and it's going back into Cancer. It will be here until April 17th. That's like a really freaking long time because it's going to move backwards through Cancer. And then once it stations direct, it's got to go forward again in order to move the hell out of there. So this is a very long stay in Cancer. So I've talked about this before, but Mars does not like being in Cancer. It's very uncomfortable here. Mars likes to do, Cancer likes to feel. Those two things don't always go together. If we take action based on our emotions when we should really be sitting with them, we might be acting out. We might be doing things that aren't in our best interest because they're super emotionally charged. And we don't actually know what direction is best for us because we haven't processed the emotions yet. So Mars was in Cancer from September 4th to November 3rd of 2024. So think back to that time around this kind of theme of actions related to your emotions because we're coming back. Now we have this sort of internal reflection, reassessment look on all of this. So maybe think back to some actions that you took that were mostly emotionally charged. And now we're going to think about those. Okay. We're going to think about them. We're going to process it just a little bit and see what could we have done differently and what have we learned. And let's not do it again. Or you know what? If it happens again, that's fine. But now we're going to reflect on it a little bit more so that it doesn't happen for the third time. With Mars in Cancer, it can feel a little awkward. It can feel a little stuck. It can feel like you have like a bunch of energy that needs to come out, but there's just not quite the right outlets for it to come out in. This is the king of passive aggressiveness. So all of this stuff doesn't sound great, but how can we use this energy constructively? Well, now is a really good time to understand what you need to be emotionally stable. I've talked about this before, but it's really figuring out, okay, when I'm feeling all the things, What is it that I can do to ground myself in this moment? What is it? And there's going to be a lot of answers to that. There's not going to be one answer, and there's definitely not going to be one answer that fits all. You might have a little bank of things, of coping mechanisms that work for you at different times with different emotions. But it's really about figuring out what that little bank could be. Do you need more time to yourself? Do you need more recharge time after a social event? Do you need to journal more? Do you need to move your body in order to move the energy and the emotions that you're feeling before you can actually think about them in a clear way? Do you need a cool down time before you can even talk to somebody again? Or do you need to get everything out before you can go to sleep? No right answers here, but this is a good energy to figure that out. And even if you figure it out now, it could change. So it's really about figuring it out for who you are right here, right now. Business owners, Mars retrograde in general isn't necessarily a good time to start new projects, but it could be nice for returning to old ones or revisiting things that you've already started. Maybe you forgot about, maybe they're on the back burner. Just don't be hard on yourself if you don't have the energy to move forward on things, because that's not really what this is about. It is about finding some balance between your actions and the work that you're doing and self-care. So if you have been pushing yourself to work really hard, but you're not balancing out with taking care of yourself, then I would use this energy to figure that out as well. As we talked about emotional stability, that applies to you and your business as well too. For example, if you find that there's a certain strategy of marketing that really just drains you, maybe there's something else you can replace it with, or maybe there's some mindsets that you can, and affirmations you can repeat to yourself before you do them, so you can get yourself in a better mindset and a better headspace before you go about doing those. Or take a break from them until you feel more confident doing them. Just play around with these things so that you don't feel so drained at the end of your workday, if that's the case. Next up, we have Mercury moving into the sign of Capricorn. It will be there from January 8th to January 27th. I like this energy. I feel like it gives us some groundedness into all the other energies. Pisces kind of has us going with the flow, up in the ethers, and Mars in Cancer has us really into our emotions. That's a lot of water. So Capricorn is an earth sign, and Mercury rules our mind. So it's nice to have our mind be a bit more grounded and focused on the long-term goals and focused on our responsibilities and hard work. When I mean hard work, I don't mean, oh, it's going to be challenging. I mean, all right, let's get some things done. Again, it's in tangent with the Mars retrograde, so our energy levels, our physical bodies may not have that energy, but our minds are going to start moving forward. What I like about this energy is that it is a good energy for getting serious about your mental health. So while we're focusing on our emotional health from the Mars in Cancer energy, we also get this energy supporting our mental health. You could make some serious strides towards understanding your mind and the mental patterns that happen so that you can kind of catch any negative talk or blocks that are happening that you may not even notice. I mean, it's really always a good time to do that. There's never a bad time for that, but this energy especially can help you get to the root of things. It brings some structure into figuring it out so that you can actually not only figure it out, but then stabilize it a little bit so that you can have some strategies for moving forward. I will say with Mercury and Capricorn, we can get a little bit too rigid in the way that we're thinking. So I think it's nice that we have some Aquarius energy coming in where it can open our mind a little bit. But just be mindful that we are not being too rigid. Make sure you're not being too close-minded. If it doesn't fit into a certain category, don't force it. Let it exist in multiple categories. Lastly, Capricorn energy can be somewhat of a harsh critic. And with Mercury being our mind, that means our minds can be rather critical. So if you're noticing patterns of lots of negative self-talk, it would be a good time to notice that and get curious about that and maybe unpack it with somebody that you trust. Ideally a therapist of any sort, whatever kind of therapy that is. Maybe your friends, if that's all you got. But this is also a good energy to be getting serious about finding that person who's going to help you unpack your mind. As for business owners, this is a good energy to try to get some harder tasks done, things that take a bit more mental energy. Again, we have some conflicting energies, but this will give some sort of forward motion to maybe get those harder things done. Watch out for forcing yourself to get things done because it is really easy to fall into burnout. Then on January 12th, we have Mars forming a trine to Neptune. This is a supportive transit between our actions, our desires, and our motivations, and our imagination, our intuition, some confusion, and some anxiety as well. I don't always bring up these transits in these month ahead forecasts, but I wanted to bring this one up because there's a lot of emotions going on in our bodies during this month, and on and around this day, I feel like we'd be feeling it for about 5 days on either side of January 12th. This is an energy that really supports moving that emotion through creativity. So this is a really great energy for somatic movement, for somatic dancing, or for creating from our emotions because Mars is over in Cancer. Really moving that energy through your body and either out through dance or out onto the canvas, out onto paper, whatever it may be. I just wanted to offer that as some sort of solace that this is a really good day to move that. Maybe not necessarily understand it, that's more Mercury, but it is a good day to channel it. Side note, it's also a really good day for making love. I chose those words wisely. It's not necessarily about wild sex, it is about romantic love making. Mars is all about our body and sex, and Neptune is all about being compassionate and full of love. And that's why today is a great day for having sex with somebody that you are truly in love with. Passionate. As for business owners, this is another great energy for tapping into your creative flow, your channeled creative flow, taking action out of intuition. It's a great day to clear your schedules, or not clear them, but at least make a little time or create some space where you can go with the flow, see what comes through. Even if it's nothing, that's okay too. But let's just tap in, see if there's anything that wants to come down. On January 13th, we have a full moon in Cancer. This is a juicy full moon. It's very supportive. There's lots going on. Where do I start? So first of all, Cancer full moons are all about letting go of things that are related to our emotions, things that are related to our families, our homes, our ancestry. So if there's any sort of baggage, things we've been carrying around from our childhood, the way we grew up, that just don't serve us anymore, this is a beautiful full moon to let those things go. We get one of these once every single year, so it's a great time to kind of tap into what have I been carrying around that just doesn't serve me anymore, especially from our parents, especially from our families. Like a lot of our baggage comes from there, but I digress. Now, with that as well, this is a good full moon for understanding our emotional boundaries. Not only because it's in Cancer, but it's happening just a few degrees away from Mars as it's retrograding through Cancer. I feel like that influences every single thing I've talked about here. But this one is very close. It's only 3 degrees away, which I would consider it a conjunction. So with this full moon, it's going to be very similar to what I've been talking about before. A lot of this energy that is supercharged in us of wanting to take action. Full moons are full emotions, so our actions may really be charged by how we're feeling. We may be really angsty to be doing something. But this moon is also activated by Neptune and Uranus, okay? Luckily, they're harmonious conversations between the moon and these planets. But, Neptune brings in a layer of confusion and anxiety a little bit. So we may be wanting to take action, but we just don't freaking know what direction to go in. That's not always a bad thing, though, because that's going to allow us to try a couple things, a few different options to see what really works. Now, bring in Uranus, and that suggests that we may be finding ideas and solutions from things that we weren't expecting. So the fact that we don't know which direction to go is a blessing, really, because we're going to try a few things and we might get some solution answers in ways we didn't expect. That's kind of nice. That's kind of beautiful, right? It opens the door for us to be thinking in new ways. So yeah, it may feel icky. It may feel like, what do I need to do? I don't know what I need to do. But if you can just channel that into an openness of trying things without getting to the solution. That openness is what can lead you to potentially what's next. And Neptune also rules intuition and creativity. So there's some support there that if you can kind of shut off your mind a little bit, shut off your emotions from taking the front end and tap into your guides, your spirits, your higher self, whatever you call it, whatever you want to relate to, tap into something beyond yourself to kind of say, okay, what are some options that I can try out here? And just try it with no strings. As for business owners, I would use this energy to let go of any limiting beliefs you have around what you need to do as a business owner to set up your emotional boundaries. I know there's a lot of you should be doing this, you should be doing that as a business owner, but if it just doesn't align with who you are and if it just drains you, kind of like what we talked about before, then now is a beautiful energy to release that. So throughout the first half of the month, we're kind of processing a lot of that. And this full moon gives a nice time to let it go. For example, if you really need to end your day at 5 o'clock, and if you don't, the rest of your evening gets kind of skewed and then you wake up grumpy. End your day at 5 o'clock, no matter what. Set some boundaries for yourself that you're not going to cross no matter what you need to do to take care of yourself as a business owner. It will turn around and it will provide for you. Then on January 18th, we get the sun moving into Aquarius. Well, it will stay until February 18th. Happy birthday to all the Aquarians out there. The month of Aquarius is all about innovation, letting your true self shine, your quirky sides and all. It's about our friend groups. It's about collectivism. It's about humanitarianism. And it's also about individuality. I like to say it's about understanding who you truly are as an individual and bringing that into the collective so that the collective can work together as this beautiful puzzle piece where everybody is a little different but brings their own assets to the table. Because if everybody shows up in the same way, we just have a bunch of the same thing, and that's not how a puzzle works. While the sun moves through Aquarius, we get some intense transits, but we actually get a lot of supportive transits as well. Make some nice connections with Jupiter, make some nice connections with Chiron. And it also has a cazimi with Mercury, which is when Mercury and the sun meet up, which is great. Innovative ideas. But that comes later in February. As I mentioned, Aquarius rules our friend groups, like friend settings, our communities, our networks. So you may be called to hang out with your friends a little bit more, have a little party, maybe have a little group hang. Or if you don't have any of those, you may be inclined to go to some meetups or something where you get to meet new people. Go with it. People are feeling a little bit more friendly than usual, so you might meet someone that really jives with who you are. It's a great time to tap into your existing communities or create new ones. One last thing for Aquarius is it's also known for its sense of detachment. I like the term healthy detachment, where we can look at things objectively. I am someone who is very emotionally attached to things, and so when something happens, it's all related to why me? Why is this happening to me? But when we can detach a little bit, then we can just see it for what it is. Okay, this happened because X, Y, and B. It's nothing personal. It just makes sense. That's what I like to call healthy detachment. Too much detachment, and we're moving into dissociation and not being compassionate towards one another. So there's a nice balance, and Aquarius allows us to fall into the balance of being more objective. Especially with lots of the emotional things going on this month, this is a nice energy to just pull away from a minute and see what's going on. As for business owners, this is a year of big shifts. So you can use this Aquarius energy to really continue the work in progress towards redefining what your business means and how it can be unique, and not just to be unique, but make it unique for who you are, and that's why it shines. So if we're just following all the strategies of, business 101, it's not really going to thrive because you are not business 101. So you can use this energy to really bring your identity, who you are, into your business. Now, with Pluto in Aquarius, this is going to be going on for the next 20 years. So it's not just like this 1 month is the time to do that, but this just gives a little bit of extra willpower to figure out what that next step is in bringing more of your authenticity into your business. On January 21st, we get the Sun conjunct Pluto in Aquarius. Yes, anytime a sign is going to be moving into the sign of Aquarius, or any fixed sign at that, it's going to make a connection with Pluto. So on this day, it's a day of a lot of power. The qualities of Pluto get lit up, okay? And those things are power dynamics, our subconscious, big transformation, death and rebirth, our survival mechanisms. I will say this energy can go a lot of ways. I feel like for the collective, it's going to be a rather intense day. No matter what, it's going to be intense energy. A lot of people's identities and their willpower are going to get supercharged, okay? And that means a lot of people in power will get supercharged as well. And I do want to note that this happens the day after the inauguration, which already has a lot of intense promises of new policies that will be happening that aren't great for the collective and a lot of people who are in the minority of the United States. So that's not going to be great. I don't think that's going to be great for the people in power. Well, I think it'll be great for the people in power. They'll get what they want, but that means the people who are not in power, not so great. Hello, Pluto, power struggles. On an individual level, it's going to be challenging. However, we can, if we want to, if we're able to, really tap into, okay, well, now what? What can I do with the circumstances that have been provided? What can I do with the circumstances that are here and now? We at least may have some sort of grounding for what to do moving forward. And with this energy on an individual level, you can decide who you're going to be in that situation. I do expect there to be strong urges to challenge whatever is happening or to challenge the status quo in general. This is going to strike up some energy to challenge what's going on. If there was an energy where it's time to start separating yourself from conventional ideals, this is it. A great energy to dive into cultural norms that you've never really questioned, but you are now realizing you don't really jive with. This is a nice time to question that and step away from that and step into your own power. As for business owners, this would be a great time to offer some sort of collaboration or collectivism through your business, any way that you can offer more support to your people, as it might be an intense time. And with Pluto being in Aquarius, all about, community, how can you offer more community through your business instead of necessarily just telling people what to do, making it more of an inclusive environment, because people are really going to be needing that. You're probably really going to be needing that. On January 27th, we have Mercury also moving into the sign of Aquarius. It will stay here until February 14th. With Mercury in Aquarius, we're thinking and communicating with innovation. We are talking about things we maybe don't necessarily talk about. This also gives us that sense of attachment in the way that we're thinking and processing things, which can be nice for the work that we're doing in our mental health if we decided to go that route. However, this can also make our communications feel a little bit detached, so don't be too upset if someone doesn't put the exclamation points, doesn't add the emojis to the text. It's all right. We're just moving a little fast. Mercury is in an air sign, so we're moving. It's a time of thinking of new ways of doing things, okay? It's also worth thinking and talking more about our communities as well. As for business owners, this is a good time for problem solving and brainstorming, especially for new ideas. Also, if you were thinking about organizing your tasks or your ideas or something into some sort of technology, this is a good energy to do so. If you ever wanted to try a task management app, Notion is the one I would obviously recommend. I'm not sponsored or anything by them, but I just love them. They really help get things organized in a very beautiful and customized way. I put my tasks in there, I put my thoughts in there, I put everything in there. So if you were thinking about moving into a new app or something like that, but it just kind of takes a lot of work, this energy can be supportive for you to actually have the motivation to do that. Of course, because Mercury just moved into Aquarius, it's going to make a conjunction to Pluto. And this happens on January 28th. Mercury conjunct Pluto brings a lot of intensity into our conversations and our thought patterns. Now, what this can do is have us kind of catastrophizing things a little bit. Pluto tends to do that. It's very all or nothing energy. It makes us think we have to do this or that, and there's no other option. So if you're feeling that way on this day, I invite you to take a step back and look and see maybe there are some other options. Talk to somebody else who can help you brainstorm some other options. As I mentioned, this is also going to bring some intensity into our conversations. So just make sure you're really grounded before you go ask for help, because it'd be kind of annoying if you go ask for help and you're kind of sharp with somebody. Guilty. This can also have our minds running really quickly and like really fast and intensely. So it'd be great if you have some sort of project to channel that into. Otherwise, it may just be whirlwinding around. Now, Mercury rules the mind and Pluto rules the subconscious. So this is a really good energy if you have the groundedness and the patience on this day, if not, no judgment, to tap into those subconscious patterns that may be impacting your day-to-day thoughts. This is kind of perfect for a lot of the work we're doing with Cancer and the full moon, of tapping into those ancestral familial habits and seeing if they're impacting the choices that we're making on a daily basis. Maybe, what's an example? Maybe our family or our parents told us that we have to run our business in a certain way, we have to make X amount of money, but you're just finding that that doesn't really jive for you anymore and you want to make money in a different way. I feel like that's a very classic example, but you get what I'm going at. As for business owners, obviously what I just said also applies, but in a different light. Mercury rules communication. So that's writing, content, marketing, and with it being conjunct to Pluto, our words and all of that content have a lot of power. So if you're feeling in a good space to create content on and around this day, what you make will have a lot of power. So choose your words wisely, and it may go further than you expect. On that same day, on January 28th, we have the nodes switching into new signs. Now, the nodes, without getting too geeky, is basically where the eclipses happen. It changes signs every 18 months, about every 18 months, and it marks a new cycle of where our eclipses happen. We generally get 4 eclipses every year, with 2 of them happening about 2 weeks apart from each other. That time in between, we tend to talk about as the eclipse portal, where things are a bit more unpredictable, things are a bit more chaotic, but it's a really big portal for change and transformation. So things may come about quickly and unexpectedly, but generally it's a big catalyst of change. So they were in Aries and Libra. Okay, we've been having a lot of Aries energy, so it's nice to move out of that for now. And now they're moving into Pisces and Virgo. Yes, they move backwards. They always do. They're not in retrograde. That's just what they do. So the North Node is all about making connections. I think this is the easiest way to think about it. Some people talk about it's what you're here to learn about in life. The easier way, I think, is making connections, what we're growing towards. And the North Node moves into the sign of Pisces. Pisces is all about imagination. It's about collectivism. It's about thinking about how we're all connected towards one another and being compassionate towards each other and having empathy for others and ourselves. So we are making connections in that energy. We are moving towards that, which is lovely. However, Pisces can also be a little delusional. So, potentially moving into more disillusion, stepping away from having clarity on the truth. The South Node I like to refer to as disconnections. What are we moving away from? And Virgo is, an analytical energy. Virgo is about getting organized. It's also about the perfectionism in all of us. So to me, this is about moving away from perfectionism, showing up into the collective as we are, not worrying about getting it right, just showing up anyways and being open to learning. I love that. However, together, moving away from being analytical, I think being analytical is necessary, especially at a time when there's lots of misinformation flying around. So this could work in many ways. It could lead to a lot more misinformation and us being decepted into the misinformation and not really understanding what's clearly true and not. But with that, we are going to, have to have better discernment in ourselves and move into our intuition. Either way, these are mutable signs, so it's all about being adaptable, which is a very nice energy to be in for this year because there's lots of changes coming up. As for business owners, I would use this next 18 months to be adaptable. Like I just mentioned, there's lots of things moving along, and it's really a good energy to release things even if they're not perfect yet. I know we as business owners do that all the time. You're holding back on something because it's just not the way you want it to be, but really you're going to get a lot more clarity just by figuring it out, going with it, putting it out there, getting some feedback. I think that's a better approach rather than just hiding away until it's perfect. The world needs your creations. That's what you're doing this for. So put it out there and be open to it not being perfect, but it growing into what it needs to be. The last transit we are going to talk about today is a new moon in Aquarius, which happens on January 29th. I love this new moon. I think it's lovely for new starts. I feel like this is maybe the real first start of the year. I mean, I always say it's a spring equinox, but I feel like this is kind of going to be a nice, fresh, new beginning feel as opposed to being so stuck in things before and stuck in the rut. It's still going to feel a little backwards. With Mars being retrograde until February 24th, I'm going to keep talking about it. I'm sorry. This one is just hitting hard. But this new moon, okay, Aquarius is all about innovative ideas. I've talked about it a lot. And so it's going to bring us new beginnings in terms of humanitarianism, in terms of understanding who we are as individuals and how we can bring that into our communities. It's going to be new beginnings in terms of our friend groups, in terms of our networks, in terms of our communities. And what I love about this new moon is that it's forming a trine to Jupiter. Yes, we love that. Jupiter brings optimism, generosity, fortune, opportunities. And I love when we have opportunities with a new moon because then that brings in new opportunities. That can bring new cycles, new beginnings. I feel like there is a lot to gain from socializing during this new moon. I know full moons are more about being out there and celebrating, but maybe a small group hang can really offer you some new ideas or perspectives that you just hadn't really thought of before. Jupiter does love to socialize, and Aquarius is all about friend groups, so put these two together, and I think there's something juicy that can be found from those hangs. There's also a focus on intellectual exploration with this new moon. So I just feel like the idea is to be very open and to explore and to leave yourself open for opportunities to come your way. As for business owners, I'm going to continue this energy and say, go to a meetup, whether it's virtual, in person, whatever it may be. Put yourself out there, not necessarily to market, but to receive new ideas, to receive new ways of organizing or marketing your business, whatever it is that you're kind of looking for right now. Connect with other like-minded business owners or not so like-minded business owners and just see what other people are doing. You really may learn a lot from other people's experiences during this new moon. All right, loves, that's it. That's it for this month. It's an intense month. We got some things going on. We have some creativity going on. We have some new ideas coming in. I think it's hard to plan for the rest of the year until we know how this month is going to unfold. So I hope you can do what you can to stay somewhat grounded, but also don't judge yourself if we're kind of all over the place. That's all right. We're moving through a lot. If you want all of the transits happening for January, make sure you head over to my blog posts, where at the bottom I separate them into supportive, spicy, and dynamic days, which supportive days make sense. Spicy days are kind of, oh, there's some tension going on, and dynamic days have a little bit of both. Or you can go follow me on TikTok or Instagram, where I post those to my feed every Sunday and then I share them to my story so that you can follow along each day. Instagram is doing something weird where I'm finding it's being hard to share to my story. So if I'm not doing that lately, I'm figuring it out. If you like this video and you want it delivered to your inbox the moment I send it out, then make sure you sign up for my newsletter. You also get lots of discounts and some other practical astrology advice. I swear I only send out like 1 or 2 emails a month, so I'm not going to inundate your inbox. I promise. Lastly, I have a wonderful collaboration that I'm going to announce on my next video, all about the moon and a moon community that I have been working on with my friend Raquel. She is launching it, but I am the resident astrologer over there. So we talk about each lunation and how you can tap into it. She's got journal prompts. It's really amazing. There's lots of cool stuff going on. So I will announce that next video in February once the links are live to join. I hope you have a beautiful month, and until next time, stay hella fluid, y'all.